Australia.
What an incredible comeback!
It's unbelievable.
His kick has retained the Bledisloe Cup. They must score! Ankle tap by Meninga. Davies to the line of Ferguson. What strength! What power! What a grand final! What a premiership!
We are the Canberra Raiders from the capital territory. The fans are waiting, there's no hesitating, we'll be striving for victory.
Yeah, I turned up in Canberra for the start of the 1986 season, along with Mal, along with Gary Coyne, Steve Walters, Kevy Walters. The kind of the culture, the mindset, the reputation of the Raiders wasn't great. It was like a spare parts team, and Donny Ferner and Les McIntyre had assembled the players that they could get, but often they were players that were on the outer at other clubs.
Oh, 86 was a tough year. It was our first year, and it seemed to me that it was just to get through the game and have a drink afterwards. You know, it didn't have that polish, that professional feel that we thought that we were going into.
It was kind of widely known around the circles that you didn't. I remember after we ended our pre-season training, we were going out for a bit of a night out together and meeting at one of the local pubs, and Dean Lance pulled a couple of us aside and said, "Don't mention you with the Raiders, or they mightn't let you in," because some of the boys had pretty bad reputations around town. But the other thing that really struck me about Canberra then, when we played, half our games on the road, wonderful bus trips, fantastic, but we couldn't win away. The team had a mindset that they weren't going to win away, or they'd be very lucky if they did. And I do remember at times back on the bus feeling pretty, down about the fact that we've been beaten. And they said, "No, it's all right. It's Eastern Suburbs. They beat us by 30 last time. They only beat us by 10. So let's have a few beers." And that didn't sit well with me. I know it didn't sit well with, Mal and the other newcomers too. But also there's a great way about a lot of the players at Canberra, the likes of Craig Bellamy and Phil Carey and Ash Gilbert and Dean Lance, and these blokes that have been there sort of virtually from the start, who knew potentially how good the club could be, and they welcomed us with open arms.
You could see by the last probably 4 or 5 games of 86 that something was going to happen at the club. I felt it, because I was successful in a successful club here in Brisbane with Wynnum Manly. Mal and Gary with South, so you just had a feeling that something was going to happen with the Raiders.
Certainly when Wayne Bennett came to the club in 1987, working in tandem with Donny Ferner, the old and the new, and the mindset of players had to change, and a lot more self-belief. And 87 was the great turning point for the Raiders. We were too good.
All losers.
I look back at it because each time we went through the final series and we won, Queanbeyan and Canberra treated it like we'd won a grand final. I remember having car parades through the centre of towns and going to functions and meetings in schools, and it's just like if there was this aura about the team that we were going to win. But I think we had played that grand final too many times in our mind. By the time we got to grand final day, I think we were just all overawed, I think.
When Tim turned up in '88, he didn't change much. I think that was for me, that was his greatest strength. He realised that off the back of the 1987 grand final, we had something pretty special going, a club that came from near the bottom of the ladder to the top in a short time. And I think he realised there was a lot of talent there. There was he could put his own mark on it, but he didn't need to change things overnight.
Stewart, Daly.
Yeah, of course there was a new generation, or a changing of the guard with a lot of the local players that came through at Canberra, who turned out to be absolute superstars. Ricky Stewart, Bradley Clyde, played a little bit that year. Glenn Lazarus, Laurie Daly, he'd come down from Junee the year before, but '88 was really the year that he started his first grade career. So just a bit of talent there. They were pretty handy players, and of course that you could build a team around any one of those guys, but you got all 4 of them. It's a pretty good start.
For us, it was about earning respect, but we're also very confident that we could make a difference to that football team. And as it turned out, we just had the great mix. We had a great mix of experience, and we had a great mix of youth. And for us, that was one of the great things about playing in that football team.
Stewart steps. Stewart scores. Throws the ball high in the air with delight.
We're all very close. We were all mates and we all knocked around together.
it was a real family club.
The little grubber kick from Belcher. Back there is Elias, but I'm not sure. I think Jackson got there first. And
Tim Sheens has always said that 88 was probably the strongest Raiders team that he coached. Unfortunately, we got put out in the major semi-final.
Elias under pressure, got it away. It went to Maguire. Maguire in space. Maguire over the corner line. Maguire, he's got the pass away to Freeman, and Freeman will score. That's it. Balmain are into the preliminary final.
After what was probably a disappointing end to our season in 1988, we probably hit our pre-season wanting to try and achieve a little more than what we had over the last 2 years. But like all pre-seasons, as a young player, you get to pre-season and you want to be the fittest, you want to be the strongest, and we had a very, very competitive football team out on the training field. It's one thing I remember, and the one thing that got us a lot of success, that we competed at every session, every training session. We had a good social group, but we had a very, very good, strong training group too.
We had a great pre-season. The pre-season was very good. I remember training, quite hard and thinking, God, I can't wait to get on the field. To lose the first 2 games and then just get away with the 3rd game, you're just thinking to yourself, this is not supposed to happen.
I missed the early rounds, and so did Mal, and sort of watched on hoping that the team would, get off to a good start. And we didn't get off to a particularly good start, but I do remember this game round 5 against the Bulldogs at Seaford.
The game against Canterbury in '89 was a little bit of a turning point for us, looking back at that. Particularly at that stage, the Bulldogs still had that reputation as being the toughest, most physical team in the competition, if you like, and would bully a lot of the other teams.
As we welcome you to Seaford Sports Ground, home of the Raiders. As Dean Lance leads out his side, the big question for the Raiders, can they get over the Canterbury forwards?
There was always question marks from media and other stuff about our forward pack because we didn't have as many internationals and big names in our forwards.
Well, we'll never credit it. We were always told that we were the weak link, so to speak, of the Raiders team, but we never believed it for 1 minute.
We all believed we had a good forward pack, but we just were building, if you like, I thought, and the Bulldogs, they were really regarded as a benchmark in forwards pack, still at that stage after they won the grand finals for a few years and won again in '88, and that game at Seaford, that's where I can remember personally that, as a forward pack, I thought we did really well.
And they're prepared to offload the ball, Canberra. That's one of the things that's getting them into the clear. O'Sullivan links up with Henjack. A little gap there for Henjack, who's gone straight through. Got support back inside from O'Sullivan. Daly's there to back up. Oh, Daly, what a try! What a great try to the Raiders.
Tim was one of the smallest backlines he probably had to pick. Kevy Walters at fullback, Ivan Henjack played in the centres, but they tore him apart. They played wonderful footy. It was great to see. In fact, I do remember sitting there wondering if I was going to get my spot back.
And again, this time O'Sullivan. Henjack's gone straight through. He shaped the kick, got the pass back inside for Daly. Daly's got O'Sullivan with him. Put the glasses down. Canberra are in again.
Mate, all I can say is everyone's having a go. That's the main thing.
Your outside backs, they cut them to pieces. That was obviously a part of the plan.
Well, there's still 20 minutes to go, as you can see, but we've got a core hang in, and I think they're doing that.
Dean, thanks for talking to us. I'll let you have an early shower.
Thanks, Billy. Looking forward to it.
Deserves it too. Certainly does. He's been a great leader.
Sometimes it's a blessing when you've got a star player like Mal out, your best player out. Because everyone has to learn to play without them, and if you can perform without them and come up with a result, then you're going to be better when they do come back. It was never more evident than when Mal came back in round 6 and immediately came on the field and just wanted to have an impact. I think he had 3 broken arms, and there was a question mark about his future.
And listen to the crowd. Lifters won.
It wasn't long before the Mal of old was in action.
His first taste of the ball. Pushes off. My arm's as strong as it's ever been, says Mal.
The big runs continued too, but it was Illawarra who scored next, just after half-time, to make it 10-8. From there, the Raiders started to click, O'Sullivan putting the game out of reach minutes later. Big Mal had a hand in the next try. And he kicked the conversion too.
Certainly has it.
4 minutes later, and Mal chimes in again. Carey gets try number 3 for 26-8. But Carey wasn't happy with that. Like any good winger, he was in the right place for this gem.
But it's gone to Ferguson out wide. Ferguson back inside. He's going to link up with Belcher, I think. No, he'll go himself. Gets it to Belcher. It's a magnificent try.
The lift it just gave everyone was enormous, and that contributed greatly to the team then going, up a gear, up another level. The next 3 games, we scored 40+ points. So, and points were a little bit harder to come by back then too. You didn't sort of see those big blowouts too often. With the Tina Turner ads, yeah, look, it was a really exciting time to be around it. The whole image of the game was changing. The image of the game had cleaned up. Certainly people were looking at the entertainment value. It had always been an entertaining game, but I think the Raiders fitted in perfectly with that. The more you threw the football around, the more you chanced your arm, the greater the rewards, greater the risk, of course. But I certainly think we won a lot of fans over just sort of the way we played footy.
The style that we attacked the game in, it was just a different style which we brought to the competition. We backed our ability. There was long passing, a lot of backline movement, and I think we really set the trend in how the game was being played.
People always said they loved the way the Raiders played. They loved it. For me, it was just natural. For Mal and Laurie and Ricky and our outside backs and guys that played that open style of footy all of our lives, it was just natural. That's how we played.
And Stewart's gone straight through the dummy. Now has he got the pace? Look at the chasers after him. French is after him. Renouf's after him. But Belcher's there to back him up. And we won't catch Belcher. Gary Belcher in for the Raiders. Superb try started by Ricky Stewart.
We had a lot of speed, and when I say speed, we played fast. We kicked long, and we had a lot of width in our pass. It'd be nothing for us to be hitting one sideline, then to be hitting the next sideline with our attack.
Daly stepping off the right foot. He's linked up with Belcher. Belcher's given it away to Bradley Clyde, who scored in the corner for the Raiders.
I just remember Clyde being a freak. A lot of players asked me who was the best player that you played with, and it's just hard to go past Clyde.
Clyde went straight past him. Duffy slipped over again. Clyde's run round him and scored an incredible try.
I've always remembered that when, especially in his early years, when we were there, we'd play, even though you had 6 forwards, we'd play like a five-man forward pack, especially in attack. And Clyde would, you watch the number of tries that the Raiders scored over those years. Bradley Clyde sometimes would stand outside Mal Meninga and sometimes on the sideline. And to see Clyde run down the sideline and score tries from a long distance was, it pumped the rest of us 5 forwards up. I know that for a fact, because Dino and I would talk about it regularly, about what a freak this kid is.
Unusually, I don't think it's happened that often. We had a mid-season tour of New Zealand, Australia, playing the Kiwis over there, 3 tests, and we missed 3 club games. There was a bit of controversy about that, and we looked back at the Raiders, Mal and Clyde and myself, and they lost all 3. It was really disappointing. It was a tough one for the club. It left us very vulnerable.
Dummy half should score an easy one.
I remember training being flat as well. And if you were flat in Canberra in the middle of winter, mate, it was cold. The last thing you ever wanted to do was, especially as a Queenslander, was to run around in some of the freezing weather. And we used to train at night time down there too, don't forget. So, you'd be going out and the ground would be frozen sometimes. And if you're coming off a couple of floggings, the last thing you want to be doing is running out on a Tuesday night on the cold field. The mental approach was something I think that Tim picked up on. He addressed it. And then when everybody came back, I think the confidence just grew.
The equation when we got back was win every game and hopefully you'll make the final.
Coming up quickly are the Raiders, and that ball was forward, but play on, said the referee. Meninga crashes the plane into the turf. That's good defence from the Raiders, putting pressure on Eastern Suburbs.
About 5 metres in from touch. The ball is played from Stewart. It goes to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan dummies. Oh, through the gap, O'Sullivan. A good run up towards halfway. Ferguson now. Ferguson over the halfway, but he's been able to. He gets up again. He's still going over the 22 minutes. Ferguson. Oh, a sensational run.
without a doubt, Jicka Ferguson was the crowd favourite. He was my favourite. Mate, I found at times, and I've never worked with a better winger as far as understanding the kind of stuff that I was trying to do in the field and linking and being in the right spot at the right time. But, gee, you give him the ball and then you kind of just sit back and go, Jicka, you're in again. That's unbelievable. He was incredible and an all-round, just a good guy to be around. You know, this is a guy who, as we ran off at half-time, one of the trainers have a cigarette waiting for him already lit so Jicka could have a couple of puffs and go and sit in the dressing room. And before a game, he'd be having a little sleep in the corner and had to get woken up to go out for the warm-up. He was casual, he's laid back, but God, what an amazing talent.
Shoulders by Truella. Down the blind side. Meninga puts a little chip kick over. Will he get the rebounds? Yes, he will. Throws it over his shoulders to Lowry. This is great football. Canberra, that is a brilliant try. Mal Meninga, some beautiful football.
He'll play the ball. Laurie Spina as dummy half. He got the pass, a long pass out now, and that's Salvatore. Salvatore, he's lost the ball. Meninga's got it now. The Raiders, here's the chance for the Raiders. On it goes to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan to Belcher. Belcher over the 22-metre line. Belcher will go all the way. Will he? Yes! Belcher's in! Belcher's into the far corner.
Tim, a very vital 2 competition points today.
Well, they're all vital at the moment, but when we hadn't won a game for 3 weeks, it certainly was.
Right, you must have been happy with the return of the international players.
I was. Obviously today you saw Gary Belcher, the way he played, and Mal settling in the back line, Chris O'Sullivan back as well, and Todd's work rate up front really made a big difference to the side.
I guess a plus, you've got other players coming back next week, Glenn Lazarus, Laurie Daly, possibly Ivan Henjak as well.
Yeah, and Diamond, I think, too, is available, so we could look a bit better, but we're still, you know, sticky taping a few of them together. That's the problem, but I suppose everyone's suffering the same problem this stage of the year.
The lights are starting to take effect here at the Wacker in front of the crowd that certainly is building up now, and we just await the Canberra Raiders to hit the field.
The game against the Bulldogs at the Wacker is the main one I remember before the finals, because I can remember Tim Sheen's being in our ear about not being complacent, only because the Bulldogs had a lot of injuries and they had a lot of their key players out that game, and because it was a must-win game for us, people were just assuming that we would win because of all their injuries.
Here's Mackie getting away to Folkes, and he's able to link up to Corcoran down the touchline, looks for support inside, he's got it too, Nissan's there to score. That's a fine Canterbury Bankstown try.
One thing I remember about that game was every play we put on, there was defence in front of it. Every time we had some part of our game plan, our strategy, we performed it, executed it, Canterbury were there. It was like they knew what we were going to do. And, you know, and I talk about instinctive football players, and Ivan Henjak was too. He was very, very instinctive in regards to what was in front of him, the way he played it.
There was a couple of minutes to go when we really needed something special, and Ivan was a super sub. He'd been you know, the regular halfback for a number of seasons, and then Ricky Stewart signed to come and play with the Canberra Raiders, and Ricky took over as the #1 halfback in the team, but Ivan still had a fairly significant role to play.
Back for O'Sullivan, and then Henjak, who came inside one tackle, and into the clear now. Little Ivan Henjak, he's under the halfway mark. Found Meninga with him, and Big Mal charges at the quarter line. Can Bowie get to him? He doesn't need to. Matthew Woods is there to back up on the inside.
It was a great break he made that day to actually offload to Mal, who offloaded to Matty Wood to score that try in the left corner at Wacker. That doesn't happen, we don't win the '89 grand final.
Lost the football, but it doesn't matter. The siren has sounded. Canberra are still alive in the Winfield Cup. And don't those faces say it all.
After that game, Gus Gould, he came out and said words to the effect in the paper that the Raiders can't win the comp or can't go all the way with that forward pack. It was just gold for Sheens. He cut it out, stuck it up on the wall. I think that bit of motivation certainly helped them, helped us.
She's taken on the biggest names on the biggest stage and come out on top. So why does Sam Stosur struggle to fire at home?
Let's talk about the C word. You've labelled yourself a choker after a loss at the Australian Open. What is that moment like when you're on centre court and you know that the game's slipping away from you?
A rare insight into Sam Stosur on Breaking Ground, Tuesday night, Fox Sports.
Oh, a wicket in the Big Bash. Time for a live bet. Just check the odds, call 13bets, and you have done it. See how easy it is? Live betting with Sportsbet. Call 13bets. Come on, get into it.
The time is upon us to choose which side we are on.
We cannot win this fight.
Will you follow me one last time?
The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies.
Hello, yes, I'm Van Damme. It was 22 years ago today. I was alone in the Rockies. My clothes were taken by big sweaty bears. I was scared. I was left with nothing except my tight leopard print on the pants. My nipples were so cold, they started talking to me. That was the closest I ever been to the ice-cold refreshment of a Coors. Yeah, Coors, the world's most refreshing beer.
Hear that? It's supposed to be a big storm coming.
Silverton, it's coming.
A tornado heading this way.
I've studied storms all my life, all right? This one is bigger than any storm that has ever been.
A massive
Pete,
tornado.
you see?
Guys, we gotta get out of here.
Please hold back!
Is there anything like this? It's the biggest tornado I've ever seen.
Spring in Sydney, Australia brings you sailboats on the harbour and also brings you semi-final football at the Sydney Football Stadium. And what a game we have on our hands here in this sudden death semi-final between the Cronulla Sharks and the Canberra Raiders.
We finished the comp on 28 points, equal with the Sharks and the Broncos on 4th place. Top 5, 6 into 5 doesn't go, so someone has to play off. And fortunately for us, it was the Sharks and the Broncos. Given, I guess, our style of footy and the amount of points that we'd racked up meant that on for and against we'd finished ahead of them. So they had the issue, the problem of playing off midweek, Wednesday night, and then backing up, the winner backing up against us, and it was the Sharkies that won.
And the question over the Cronulla side is, did they play their semi-final Tuesday night? Outstanding performance. Can they back up again today? Let's see. Time will tell. Well, Ricky Stewart with that hamstring injury, Peter Sterling showing a reluctance not to kick the football.
Well, there's no doubt he doesn't want to be kicking the football with a hamstring injury. It's the last thing in the world you want to be doing.
Yeah, I remember that game. I injured my hamstring at training that week, so I was going into the game with a crook hamstring, so it was more I couldn't kick, which is a big part of my game. At times I had to kick left-footed, and then others we've had to pass the duties on to other people. I remember making a break and limping through it.
Stewart trying to thread his way through the defence and does it successfully too. Up to the halfway mark, Ricky Stewart.
But it was more of an organising, dictating game from myself, and it was a real struggle. It was a tough game.
Now Stewart bounce upon from Bradley Clyde, and he's got support from Belcher. It's try time for the Raiders. Yeah, beautiful stuff.
We had a good win against Cronulla. The rider on that, of course, was that Cronulla were backing up. So whilst some people were getting excited about it, we knew that that was a tired footy team that had played 3 games in a week. But one thing that Canberra could do was score points. If you're off your game defensively, we could put a lot of points on you.
Still charging ahead, this man, what a strength he has. Only 5 metres short of the line. Out it comes for Stewart, and then O'Sullivan, and then Belcher. Quick hands to Meninga. Looks for his winger, Martin, and found him. Beautiful pass, beautiful try.
The game was already won, what I can remember, and Gary Belcher received the ball from the kickoff actually, and he gave it to Mal, and I was standing on the 10-metre line from the kickoff, and I saw this gap, and I thought if Mal goes through that, we're going to run through here. So I just turned and ran.
Here comes Meninga again, charging through tackles, pushing tacklers aside with great ease.
And I stayed up with them, and to this day, Ivan doesn't know what I was doing beside him. Yeah, we all still laugh about it today.
Oh, great football. That is class stuff.
Coming out of Cronulla, the last 3 teams then with Penrith, Balmain and South all had forward packs that were the features of their team, in my opinion, whereas ours was different. Our ace was our back line. So it's always in the back of your mind, as long as you can match them in the forwards, then you're going to be in a really good chance of winning the game.
Here's Carroll, gets up towards the halfway mark and gets back slam for his trouble. Heavy defence coming in from the Canberra forwards, and surely the forwards, Bill Anderson, is an area where Penrith really must dictate.
It was going to be a bit of a task because Tim coached Penrith, and Tim always wanted to beat Penrith. He didn't like Penrith getting over the top of us, and was never happy when they beat us.
Got support from Izzard. This is going to be a try.
And we knew they were going to come at us, and they did.
Flick pass for Gaia. Vandervoort, here's a chance. Vandervoort struggling, he'll score.
So, yeah, I can distinctly remember Tim being a little bit more on edge that week.
Sheens is screaming out some instructions from the sideline.
Just move it wide to the left. They've got him outside.
Long pass out. Matthew Wood. Back for Ferguson. Unloads for Lazarus. Stewart. Quick hands for Walters. Can he unload? He can. O'Sullivan's got support. Belcher. Meninga's got infield. Martin. Inside. Izzard. He'll get in the corner. They've done it again through their back line. Whenever they're in trouble, their backs are bouncing up with a try.
Dino, you've got this one wrapped up, but it took a while, didn't it?
It took a while, mate, but, you know, it's still 8 minutes to go. If they don't pick up their intensity, I think they're still in for a shock, but, we're ahead at this stage, yeah.
Has it been as tough a game as it's looked from here on the sideline?
Yeah, certainly. Penrith, as you know, are a very physical side, and that's the way we knew they'd play it, but, to our guys' credit, we stuck with them.
I'll let you go and get a few stitches.
Thanks, Chess. Thanks, Billy.
Lazarus inside the quarter. Wallace turns it back to his brother Kevin Wallace underneath the post. That's it. That's 1989 for Penrith. And that's a preliminary final berth for the Raiders as the cheer girls dance. And why wouldn't they dance?
We played South Sydney in the prelim final, and look, they'd won the minor premiership. They were a good side, looking good. They looked like they were going to go all the way, and of course a massive amount of support for South Sydney. And what a team they had, with Phil Blake and Les Davidson, Tugger Coleman, Mario. Really, really good outfit and tough outfit.
We never ever talked about the grand final. It was never to talk about if we win this game, we're in the grand final. We've never ever spoken about that. I distinctly remember that. It was just to beat South.
Here comes Clyde, involved very early, got the pass away out to Lance, and it's going to be a Canberra try! As Lingbull goes Walters underneath the black dot. Oh, the Raiders are struck early.
Plenty of nerves playing a big role in this preliminary final. Meninga, blindside with Belcher. Belcher scores! Incredible start for the Raiders, they're on fire!
Just inside the quarter. Here's Davidson straight up the middle. Davidson pushing his way towards the line. Pulled down 2 metres short. Can the Rabbitohs strike back? Coleman got it back to Chisholm. Chisholm scores. South strike back.
We knew we were playing a very good team. I'm not saying that Penrith and Cronulla weren't, but I believe that year South was the yardstick. They were the measuring stick. They were the ones to beat.
A step off the right foot from Blake. He's pulled down only 9 metres short. Great tackle by Bradley Clyde, the lock forward. Coleman, Rampling, Chisholm looking for try number 2. He gets it.
Really, really tough game against the Bunnies in the prelim final. 12 all at half time. It was anyone's game until near the death. Right at the end, we got the upper hand on them.
Does so. Belcher into the clear. Turns the pass back inside for Clyde. Clyde found support too from Wood. Wood still going. Wood looking for the line. The pass is bounced once to Belcher. Try to Belcher. And the Raiders is at a grand final berth.
I certainly hope that it's not going to be a talking point next week in the grand final. Lazarus, is he going to reach out? Yes, right next to the post. The Raiders are back. In 1989, it will be the Canberra Raiders taking on the Balmain Tigers.
The PGA Tour jets off to Kapalua, Hawaii for the Hyundai Tournament of Champions. The winners-only event features only those who came out on top in 2014. The PGA Tour on Fox Sports.
Come on, lift, big fella. Because with Sportsbet, for any match in the Big Bash, place a top run scorer bet, and if your player hits a 6, cash back up to $100. Bash bets from Sportsbet. Download us.
Hello, yes, I'm Van Damme. It was 22 years ago today. I was alone in the Rockies. My clothes were taken by big sweaty bears. I was scared. I was left with nothing except my tight leopard print on the pants. My nipples were so cold, they started talking to me. That was the closest I ever been to the ice-cold refreshment of the course. Yeah, Coors, the world's most refreshing beer.
When you're 100% flake-free and smell like a man, good happens.
Cracking fleece, Badge.
Nope, I said good happens.
Hi, honey.
Giddy up.
Head and Shoulders with Old Spice.
Brand new selling houses? No. February 4th?
Brand new selling houses Australia.
No?
It's not. Wednesday, February 4th.
And now, over to the weather.
Watch Brand New Selling Houses Australia. Oh, yeah, it's going to get stormy later.
Guys, we need to go bigger. Plaster it across the sky.
When it comes to selling houses Australia, they'll do whatever it takes. The brand new season starts Wednesday, February 4th, only on Lifestyle.
Underneath, we're all gold, or blue, or red. Australia is hosting the biggest football tournament of 2015. And only Fox Sports will show every match live in HD. It's our Asian Cup, and we're in.
The Canberra Raiders, the masters of the sudden death situation, have managed a similar feat to Balmain last year and made it through to the grand final. And while they're not saying so yet, they do believe they can produce that same dazzling style of football once more to beat Balmain next Sunday. While the Canberra forwards haven't been given too many compliments this year, centre Laurie Daly is certainly proud of the job they've done.
I think the only people that haven't doubted our forwards is our players. Everyone else seems to give them a bagging, but you know, they come through with the goods every week.
Prop Brent Todd, who was in the losing grand final side of 87, believes the Tigers will be an even tougher opponent next week.
You know, we won't be going in confident, and thinking that we're going to whitewash or anything, but we hope we win. But it's going to be a tough game. We're going to have to do the business first.
The great lesson we took from 1987, having played in a grand final before, was that when we got to the GF, after beating the Bunnies, we weren't going to get excited. We were going to handle a week a lot better. It was feet on the ground, it was a few pats on the back, hey, we've got a job to do, and we need to keep the hype to a minimum and work out how we're going to play.
We didn't talk a lot about the phrase grand final. I distinctly remember that. Tim used to drive that home to us very much so, like the week before against South. It was never about the grand final. It was always preparing about the next game.
Yeah, that's like we got caught up in it last time, I think, and you know, if we can just settle down and just think of it as another game.
3 cheers for the Raiders, hip hip!
Only Gary Belcher and skipper Mal Meninga were exposed to the adulation of a lunchtime crowd in Midtown. The fans had come to sign telegrams and hear a farewell word from the city's other leader, whose popularity only increases.
We're ready geared for a big one this Sunday.
We saw it as a challenge that we're going to Sydney and we're going to beat the Balmain Tigers. And no one was going to stop us. That's the mindset we had. And we trained like that and we performed like that.
With the Raiders having immunised themselves against grand final fever, any excitement here in Canberra this week will have to go on without them. The players say they're attending only one function, and that one's in Sydney on Friday morning.
But I'll tell you what I remember about the whole grand final experience was one thing, was it was a grand final breakfast, and they introduced Balmain first, and he said, here they are, the Balmain Tigers, here they come, Captain Wayne Junior Pearce, and there's Big Blocker, and Big Ciro, and Moose Maguire, and Jimmy Jack, and there he is, little Gary Freeman, and he pretty well went through the whole team. And we're out second, and he said, here comes the green machine. There they are, Captain Big Mal Meninga, and Gary Belcher, and here come the green machine.
They didn't know who the wingers were. They knew Mal Meninga, and that was about it. And when they were talking through the team, that's the way they announced it. There's Gary Belcher, there's Mal Meninga, there's the rest of them. So we felt as though that was a bit of a snub from them on us, and we thought that they didn't really still recognise the Raiders as a pretty good football team.
We had a little chat about that later, and I can still remember it, and it just really, you know, like we were just there to make up the numbers, basically, you know. And you might find that strange now, looking back with, as I said, with Daly and Clyde and Stewart, but they didn't, you know, they weren't established at that stage, if you like, and yeah, it would have been 4 names at the most from our team. The rest of it, here come the Raiders, here they come.
Be surprised if Canberra win, but I'll tip Balmain. It'd be pretty hard to go past Balmain, I think.
But I think Balmain by 6 is about right.
If you were looking at it in strict punting terms, probably Balmain should start favourites.
Everyone just wanted to see one team win it, and that was Balmain. They never really paid us the due respects, and I think that sort of added a little bit of motivation for us to go out and show everyone that we were a pretty good football team and show everyone what we were capable of doing.
By late morning, the turnstiles were rolling. Canberra supporters rolled in by the busload to the waiting message from the Tigers.
Canberra, TFC, thanks for class.
I suppose they thought, and a lot of people would have, that it was rightfully theirs. They'd been dudded in a way the year before against Canterbury.
I remember at the time they were talking about Canberra being a place that didn't have a soul, and they were saying when the Raiders won that first premiership it'd give the town a soul, and people could identify with the Canberra Raiders. It was just our time. It was our time. We really wanted to make a difference.
This has been a production of Fox Sports.